renal system. The renal and digestive system. The student will know in outline the structure and functions of the renal system. The renal system, the functions of the kidneys, excretion, osmoregulation, the relationship between the structure, function, and processes of the renal system, which along with the lungs makes up the excretory system. Overview of anatomy of the renal system. Components of the nephron, appearance and location, glomerulus function, site of ultrafiltration, Bowman's capsule function, collection of filtrate, PCT function, selective reabsorption, loop of Henle function for water reabsorption, DCT function to help regulate salt content, and collecting ducts for reabsorption of water during urine formation. ADH is a homeostatic mechanism in osmoregulation, where it's made and secreted, its action on target cells, including the role of aquaporins and vesicles, action on a homeostatic mechanism in osmoregulation. Outline of disorders of the renal system, overview of causes, symptoms and treatment, kidney failure, kidney stones. So here we've got the excretory system, we've got the kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra, and then one of the kidneys, we've got the fibrous capsule, the cortex, the shell-like structures, the medulla, pelvis of the kidney, pelvic pyramids, renal artery, renal vein, and ureter. The kidney capsule is the outside of the kidneys and is tough and fibrous. The cortex is the outer layer of the kidney and has a vast blood supply. The medulla is the inner portion of the kidney composed of collecting tubule which empty into the renal pelvis. Pelvic pyramid, where the collecting ducts of the nephrons drain into from the medulla. Pelvis, the pyramids drain the urine into the hollow funnel-shaped structure, which then leads to the ureter. Renal artery brings blood to the kidney and to the cortex. Renal vein removes blood from the kidney from the vasa recta capillary network in the kidneys. And each nephron contains between 1 and 2 million filtration units. Each kidney contains between 1 and 2 million filtration units called nephrons. So you can see here the kidney, the nephron overlaps the cortex, top part, and the medulla on the bottom part. So you have the Bowman's capsule, which surrounds a bundle of capillaries, which is called the glomerulus. Bowman's capsule then joins into the proximal convoluted tubule. Then you've got the loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, and collecting duct. So the bundle of capillaries is called the glomerulus. Surrounding it is the Bowman's capsule. You've got the proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, and collecting duct. So the Bowman's capsule, the function is ultrafiltration. The PCT is for reabsorption of water and glucose in selective reabsorption. The loop of Henle is maintaining the gradient of sodium ions in the medulla. DCT is for reabsorption of water, and collection duct is for the reabsorption of water. So ultrafiltration, you can see here we've got the glomerulus, and then surrounding it we've got the Bowman's capsule. So there's a high hydrostatic pressure in the glomerulus because the diameter of the afferent arteriole, the one going in, is wider than the efferent arteriole going out, so that creates a high hydrostatic pressure. So small substances like water, glucose, ions, and urea are forced into the glomerular filtrate, out of the glomerulus into the filtrate in the Bowman's capsule through the small gaps. But large proteins remain in the blood because they're too big to fit through the gaps. Then in proximal convoluted tubule, you've got selective reabsorption. So here, all the glucose, amino acids, and most of the water and ions are selectively reabsorbed. As the glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed, water can follow by osmosis down the water potential gradient. And the cells of the proximal convoluted tubule contain many mitochondria to provide the ATP required for this process. They're also covered in microvilli to increase the surface area to volume ratio for faster reabsorption. Maintaining a gradient of sodium ions in the medulla by the loop of Henle. This is known as a countercurrent multiplier system. In the ascending limb, going upwards on the right-hand side, sodium is actively transported out, but because it's impermeable to water, the wall of the ascending limb, water can't follow. But it does increase the concentration of sodium in the medulla, which lowers the water potential of the medulla, the surroundings. But in the descending limb, because it is permeable to water, water moves out by osmosis and then it gets reabsorbed by the capillaries vasa recta. Summary of functions: glomerulus is ultrafiltration, Bowman's capsule is to collect the filtrate, PCT selective reabsorption, loop of Henle maintaining that sodium gradient for water reabsorption, DCT is to help regulate salt concentration and also collecting ducts for reabsorption of water during urine formation. Osmoregulation: water moves out of the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct by osmosis down a water potential gradient. This is controlled by ADH, which increases their permeability. Osmoregulation is the control of water potential of the blood by negative feedback. Hypothalamus contains osmoreceptors, detects blood water potential, produces ADH when water potential is low. Posterior pituitary gland secretes ADH into the blood due to the signal from the hypothalamus. Antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, more is secreted when the blood water potential is too low. This increases the permeability of cells of the collecting duct and DCT to water, so it increases water reabsorption back into the blood, decreases volume, increases concentration of urine. How the body responds to a decrease in water potential or dehydration, for example, caused by less water intake or increased sweating. In the hypothalamus, osmoreceptors detect decrease in water potential, so the hypothalamus produces more ADH. In the posterior pituitary gland, it secretes more ADH into the blood. ADH attaches to receptors on the collecting duct and DCT, increasing permeability of cells to water, more aquaporin, so more water reabsorbed from DCT or collecting duct by osmosis. Urine there's a small amount of urine and it's more concentrated. On the other hand, if there's an increase in water potential, like you've drunk loads of water, then the osmoreceptors will detect it. They'll produce less ADH, they'll decrease the permeability, less water will be reabsorbed, and there'll be a larger volume of dilute urine. Disorders of the renal system: kidney failure. The causes are things like diabetes, chronic conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, acute damage, severe infection, injury and dehydration, kidney disease, genetic disorders. Symptoms: fatigue and weakness, swelling, edema in the legs or ankles, nausea and vomiting, reduced urine output and high blood pressure. Treatment: dialysis, hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis to filter blood, or kidney transplant, which is a permanent solution. Lifestyle changes like a low salt diet or controlled fluid intake. Kidney stones: causes is a buildup of minerals like calcium, uric acid in the urine. Dehydration, high protein or high salt diet, genetic predisposition. Symptoms: severe pain in the back or side, blood in the urine, frequent urge to urinate, nausea and vomiting. Treatment: small stones, increase water intake. Large stones, shockwave therapy, lithotripsy or surgery. Prevention: stay hydrated and have a balanced diet. That's the end of that section.